Well, good morning YouTube, and welcome back to Retired for Life. So we are picking up again with some of the small jobs that I have to do around the house to get ready for winter. So I'm going to continue on today for a little bit with figuring out how to install the controllers for the de-icing cables that I installed up along the edge of the roof. So what I need to do is get the right spot for them and then start getting them in place. But one of the things I did just to see how it works was I plugged one of these heating cables in just to see how hot it gets. So let's have a quick look at that. So I've had this one plugged in for probably close to an hour now, so it should be up to its full temperature. I'm guessing that this is probably something in the neighborhood of 50 or 60 Celsius. So it's not very hot. It's not hot at all. It's just warm. And there's a divider right here that goes from your heating cable to your power cable. So that's good. I'm glad it doesn't get too hot because I don't want to melt anything. But the one thing I have seen is you have to be very careful that these wires don't get to the point where they can touch each other, because they will then melt. And that'll short the whole thing out and ruin it. So got to make sure where I've got that set up that even with the pressure of the snow on it, we're not going to have one cable come in contact with the other, as I don't want to lose this system. Still need to see how well it's going to work. All right, let's get things in place here. We'll start figuring out where to mount the power supply for it, or the power regulator for it, I should say. So what I want to do is get the power regulators mounted right back underneath the overhang, so they're well out of the way and well protected from the snow and rain. And I'm going to do a little bit of rerouting here of one of these cables. So we'll take a few minutes to get that done. So what I've ended up doing was I had enough heater cable on the second cable that I installed that goes down the downspouts to run a double strand through the gutter itself. Now, as I said earlier, you have to be very careful that these cables don't touch. So I've used a lot of these clips to hold the cables apart to make sure that they don't touch. So the next thing that I've got to do now is get the controllers in place. So with this all restrung the way I want it, and you can see I go way up on the roof here. I go well past the overhang just because I want to make sure that I'm catching as much of this buildup as I can. So it was worth going the extra foot up there. So as I say, the next step is to get the controllers installed. Well guys, we have a really nice morning this morning, and it looks like we're going to have fairly decent weather for the next few days. A bit cloudy tomorrow, but they're not talking about much rain or anything. So I think I'm going to try to take advantage of that and run the sawmill as much as I can. Hopefully not get too many interruptions, and see how far I can get through this big pile of logs. And we'll start filling up this new spot where I've got for the 2x6s and 2x4s and see how that goes, because I really want to get this thing empty and get the sawmill shut down. I've got, I think, 2 more logs still down at Art's to go get, so probably tomorrow when it's a little more cloudy I will do that. But for now we're going to do a little bit more extensive job of setting up the sawmill camp here by putting the canopy up and that type of thing, and then everything's going to stay open. Now, I was starting to run low on what I use for lubricating fluid or cutting fluid in the mill. Now, it's very common, I have seen on YouTube, for people to use water with a little bit of soap and that type of thing. I started using a windshield washer de-icer. This is, I get this from Canadian Tire. It's a reflex windshield washer fluid that has bug remover in it. So it has kind of a detergent that helps take off sticky things like bugs and whatnot. And I have found that this works amazingly well. I've really been happy with it. And I have it going on to the blade at just dripping on, and it's still doing an incredible job, so it lasts a very long time. Because it works so well, this is all I've been running in the sawmill and the cutting fluid tank of the sawmill, and I've been very happy with it. I do have it running at a very slow drip, and it's still doing an amazing job. And one of these jugs lasts me for a very long time. One of the nice things with this is when I'm finished at the end of the year and winter comes on, it's not really a problem. This stuff doesn't freeze. It's not going to damage the tank or the lines or anything like that. So I just leave it. So it's running always on every cut. I have it set for just a couple of drops every once in a while. Just enough to do the job. And it does, as I say, it does an amazing job. So I've got a box of this, and it's costing, I buy it when it comes on special, so it costs me about $3.25 for a jug, which isn't that much. And 4 jugs, which comes in a case, lasts me for a year. So I can't complain about that. Anyway, let's get this put away, and then we'll get the canopy set up and get the equipment up here that I need and prepare for a slightly longer duration run on the sawmill. And then we'll get going. Okay, we're open for business. Well, we got our first log of the day on. It's got a pretty good wow in it and maybe a few knots, so we'll see how it looks once we start cutting. This one may just become 1/8 for siding. So let's get the sawmill running and get the first log of the day underway, a few tunes on, and see how we do. I'm starting to get just a hint of waviness here, and I'm having to push harder than I want to on the sawmill head. So before we ruin a board, I'm going to change the blade. I mean, for the cost of the $11 to sharpen a blade, it's not worth pushing it too far. So let's get a fresh blade in here and we'll continue cutting. All right, guys, let's have a look at what it takes to do a blade change on this Woodland Mills sawmill. So we've got the latch on the bottom, on the top, on the bottom of the other side, and then the bolt that holds the lid closed. So first off, we're going to take the pressure off. So we have no tension on the blade. Just like so. Now, you can just start very carefully . Watch you don't catch your lines. There we go, the blade's out. Now the next thing we have to do is fold the blade up. Now that's a little bit tricky and it can be a bit dangerous if you're not careful. So let's do that. So I'm going to take this blade with the teeth facing outward, away from me. Put one foot on it at the ground, and then with both hands, I'm going to roll it as I bend down with it. And it just flaps in like that. Now, the reason you do it with the teeth facing out is as you roll it and it suddenly curls in, it will come back in and probably bump you on the arm. So you want the back of the blade doing that, not the teeth. So that's all set to go. Now, let's go get a fresh blade and I'll show you how to open that up and put it on the machine. So I have a fresh blade. Now they usually come with ties on them that keep them rolled up, but the blades that you get from Woodland Mills come in a box where they're already all unrolled and that type of thing. Now again, you've got to be real careful if you're dealing with a blade that's rolled up like this. Simplest way to do it is to just throw it out in front of yourself. And there you go. So again, you got to be very careful of the teeth as you're now dealing with a fresh blade and those teeth are going to be really sharp. All right, let's get this on the mill and get ready to go again. So same process, just in reverse. So teeth facing out, and you also want to make sure that your teeth are pointing in the right direction. The sawmill is running in this direction, so you want your teeth pointing the same way. You put it on the wrong way around and it's not going to cut very well. So, going to slip it up under the guard. get it started into the first guide there. And then just very slowly and carefully work it on to your wheels. So I've got this set so that the teeth are still out in front of the two steel wheels a little bit. And I'm going to put a little bit of tension on the blade now. Not a lot, just to start pulling it up. Now that I can feel I've got some tension, I'm going to spin it by hand. So your blade alignment should have your teeth out front of the steel wheel, obviously, and if you feel the back of that blade, it should be just a little bit past the back of the steel wheels. That's perfect. So the teeth are not touching the steel wheels, because if they start rubbing against the steel wheels, it's going to knock the pitch out of the, or knock the offset out of the teeth, and then it's not going to cut properly. I'll check my belt while I'm here. It's still good. All right, so it's just that simple. There's really not much to it. You just need to be careful. I highly recommend cut gloves or some kind of gloves to protect your hands, because these blades are sharp. Let's close it up and get back to work. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you out on the trails the next time.